Oh boy, is it really too late? Is it too late for stimulus? Is it too late for the country? Can we recover? We've heard the excuses. I don't know about cuts and bruises, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, afraid of their opinions. That's politics, man. Nobody wants to be caught doing anything. Nobody wants their word on tape. Nobody wants to honor what they said 2 years ago. Wow. I certainly hope it's not too late. I have a lot of hope for this country. Stimulus. Where is the stimulus money? Hello? Yoo-hoo. Nancy. Yoo-hoo. Mnuchin. Yoo-hoo. Steven. Hello? Hello? Is there anybody home? Are you home? Mark Meadows? Where are you? Hee. Today is October 12th. It's the Matt Blaze Show. I am Matt Blaze. We still do not have a stimulus check or a stimulus package or money for airlines or money for testing or money for small businesses. It is October 12th, and we still don't have any of these things. Why not? What is the problem? Does anybody know? I'm wondering. Does anybody know? Because here's what I keep hearing over and over again from the people in charge, the people that we have elected, some were appointed, whatever. I keep hearing, as I scratch my beard, I keep hearing that everybody is in agreement. Everybody agrees on all these things. Everybody agrees we need some infusion into our economy. We need stimulus money. Everybody should get $1,200 and $500 per dependent. If you make a certain amount, we all should get money. Some kind, something, to help kickstart the economy, from keeping the economy from burning and crashing into the ground. This is what we need to do. But now it's been how many months? 2 months. It was a little over 2 months ago that the president signed the executive order giving everyone unemployment due to COVID $300 a week for 6 weeks. Because it was only $44 billion. That was over 2 months ago. It was on July 31st when the enhanced unemployment of $600 expired. It was when the eviction moratorium expired. We still need more money for PPP loans and small businesses. We still need money for testing and contact tracing and school openings and money for states and cities and yada, yada, yada. But what do we have? We have absolutely nothing. Zero. Zilch. Nil. Why is that? Somebody explain why everyone's saying on both sides that we need money. I should say both sides. There's 3 sides. It's like a triangle. We're in 3 sides. It's not 2 sides, 3 sides. The White House, the Democrats, the Republicans, right? Everybody around now is saying, yes, we are in agreement that we need another stimulus package. They're all saying it. Meanwhile, we got nothing. Still nothing. $1,200. Oh yeah, we agree. Everybody should get $1,200, $500 a dependent. If you make under $75,000 a year, up to $99,000, it decreases in increments, just like the last one. Yeah, we all agree. Yay! Everybody should get $1,200. This has been an agreement since August. We still don't have anything. Tanya, what's happening? Say hello to Tanya. I just saw it pop up on my screen. Talking about stimulus today, Tanya. Wondering what the hell's happening. Why don't we have a deal? I want to know. So does everybody else. Millions of people are asking this question. Why don't we have a stimulus? And people want to blame Nancy Pelosi. People want to blame President Donald Trump. People want to blame Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin. People want to blame Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. And I say they're all to blame at this point. You got to put the blame on everybody. And at some point, through the entire thing, the entire operation, the negotiations, whatever you want to call it, you could individually stick the blame on each person at a certain point and point to this person and go, it's your fault now. And now it's your fault. And now it's your fault. During the timeline of this negotiation, you could individually point to each person and say, now it's your fault. Well, wait, no, now it's your fault. Well, now it's your fault. But collectively, on October 12th, it's everybody's fault. I'm doing pretty good, Tanya, for the most part, in the new COVID world that we live in, and the craziness of an election, the craziness of the Supreme Court justice hearings going on started today. Yeah, I'm doing all right. But I want to know what the hell's going on in this government that we can't get a deal going when everybody seems to be in some kind of agreement that we need something. What's the holdup? What's the problem? Now, was it the plan, do you think, to hold off until we get closer and closer and closer to the election? Was that the plan all along? I don't think that was a plan back in August. I certainly don't think it was a plan in May when the House passed a $3.4 trillion bill in May that Mitch McConnell sat on and did absolutely nothing about for 2 months. 2 months he sat on the bill, didn't do a thing until July, like the week that it was expiring, or everything was going to expire out. They propose a $100 million bill. The House is at $3.4 trillion. The Republicans in the Senate, they're at $1 trillion. I mean, that's not working. Now, if the House introduces a bill and the Senate doesn't agree on the bill, well, then we negotiate on that bill. Why do they have to introduce their own bill? You have something there. There is something that is there. You look at it, you read through it, you see what you like, you see what you don't like, and you make the changes, right? That's how you figure out. That's what negotiating is. That's why we have these negotiations. So I don't understand why they have to introduce their own bill. What's the point? There was already something there. And I get it. Here's what people are complaining about. People complaining about the House bill introduced by Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, that it was filled with a lot of fat, a lot of nonsense, a lot of stuff that had nothing to do with COVID, right? Filled with all this junk, they said, this bill. And I get it, because that's negotiating. Look, any salesman will tell you, and I said this previously, that is sales 101. You ask for all the money. Doesn't mean you're going to get it, but you ask for it. Worst they could say is no, and then you negotiate down from there. But the fact is that Mitch McConnell didn't do anything about this for 2 months. And then in July, the week. Everything's expiring. They introduced this 100 million, and that didn't go anywhere. And then it's a mad rush. Remember, it was the mad rush? Like, we have to do something. Like, August 1st is like the deadline. August 1st is this deadline. Then it was like August 7th is a deadline that we have to get something introduced by this time because, the $600 enhanced unemployment's running out. And there was Republicans then and now, today, in October, that go, we don't think that we need any kind of stimulus. Screw them all. That's what they're saying to you. Screw you. You're not getting nothing. That's what they're doing. But back in August, there was all these deadlines. And then the deadlines came and went, right? So then right after that, I think it was on August 8th, the president signs this executive order for enhanced unemployment. Gives everybody $300 who's on unemployment per week. And that money was repurposed. See, a lot of people don't understand how government works. We all learned about it in school, but a lot of people were out that day. Nobody paid attention. We have 3 branches of government: executive, legislative, judicial. The president is the executive. He cannot control the money. He can't control it. He cannot say, okay, I want to take X amount of dollars and put it here without getting the approval from the Congress. The House and the Senate have to agree. There's a reason why it was set up this way. Because we can't have the president of the United States, the person in charge, in control of the money. That's why we live in a democratic republic. It's set up a certain way. So people don't understand this because I see comments on videos all the time and they go, who the hell is Nancy Pelosi? Why don't you just go around her? Well, you can't go around her. The government was set up this way so nobody abuses their own power. And you have to come to a collective agreement. That's what it's all about. So when I see these videos that people don't understand, they don't get it, they didn't pay attention in school of why we have a House Speaker and why the Senate and the House have to agree. Bipartisan. They have to agree in order for things to get done, in order for money to be doled out. So when the president did his executive order, because I keep saying, why doesn't the president just do another executive order? Why can't the president just do an executive order? Because it doesn't work that way. You can't just do an executive order. The president can only, with that executive order that gave everybody an extra $300, that money comes from FEMA. He was repurposing money that was already allocated. He took $44 billion. It wasn't even all of it. They had like $75 billion in the fund, right? The disaster relief fund. And he said, all right, we're going to take $44 billion of that, or until it reaches $25 billion. They didn't want to leave like nothing in the fund because it was like right before hurricane season, and that's what that money's supposed to go to. And they said, all right, we're going to take $44 billion and want to give that to the unemployment. Unemployed will get that. And what does that equal? Well, he said we're going to give everybody $400 a week. Well, it wasn't really $400 a week. It was $300 a week because $100 of it was supposed to come from the states. And the states went, whoa, hold on there. Hold on there. We don't have another $100 to give everybody. And then the tune got changed to, wait a minute, well, if you're already paying out unemployment and you're paying them $100, that counts. And they went, oh, states went, okay, great. So it really was $300. That $300, gone. That only lasted 6 weeks. $1,800 worth. That's it. $1,800. And there are states that have already paid out all their money. There are states that haven't paid anything yet. They're still waiting because these computer systems that are 100 years old have to get updated. So there are states that are still waiting for their money. But now we're at a point where we're in mid-October and everybody's waiting for the stimulus package. And everybody wants to know what the hell is going on. And everybody's blaming Nancy. And everybody's blaming Mnuchin. And then last week, after a month of nothing happening, where Nancy kept saying, the Republicans don't understand the gravity of the situation. We need to crush the virus, and they don't want to crush the virus. And the Republicans saying, we don't want to spend all that money. We don't want to spend all that money, which I don't understand. It's not like it's your money. It's not like it's coming out of your pocket, out of your salary. And none of these Republicans, or I should say, not even just the Republicans, none of them in Congress, not Nancy, not Chuck Schumer, not McConnell, not any of them. Believe me, none of them are worried about how they're paying their electric bill. None of them are worried about how they're paying rent. Not at all. So when we say, why is this going on so long? Because the players that are involved that are making these decisions, that the people elected to, work these things out, the people that we trusted to help us, are the ones that don't care because they're not directly affected. You think Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer, Mark Mnuchin, Steve Mnuchin and Mark Meadows, you think any one of them, do you think they're not sleeping at night? You think they're worried about how they're going to get food on the table tomorrow? Or how they're going to pay their rent on the first of the month? Or how they're going to keep their electric bill going? Or how they're going to feed their children or clothe their children? None of them are thinking about that. Nancy Pelosi showing off her freezer full of ice cream. Remember that? In April, she's showing off her ice cream. She's not worried about bills. So when she says, I'm holding out, no, we need this much. And people are like, Nancy, come on. What's the deal? We need the money. People need money. People are starving. They don't know how they're going to make their rent. They don't know how they're going to pay bills. And here's what happened. In the beginning of COVID, like in March and April, when all of a sudden everything shut down and we entered this new world of ours that was new to everyone, something that none of us have ever gone through in our lifetime. None of us. It was all like a shock to the system, right? Everything's closed down. Nothing's open. You can't find toilet paper. The world was going crazy. And then they went, all right, we're going to pass a bill right away. And everyone's like, all right, we're passing a bill. We're going to give everybody money. And then they did it. They gave everybody money. And now here we are all these months later. And what happens is we start to get used to it, right? We start getting used to wearing a mask all the time and thinking about COVID and the social distancing. And I don't know how much you pay attention to the markings on the floor in the store. I know I do. Look, if I see that little marking that says social distance, I make sure I'm like 6 feet behind the person in front of me. And if the person behind me isn't, they come right up on you, they're not like social distancing, I'm looking at them like, come on, man, what are you doing? Step back. I don't know you. I don't want the COVID from you. I will tell you that I don't follow the arrows on the when you go down the aisle. I don't follow that crap. I just go down the aisle. Please. Does it really matter? They're like, they want you, it's like a one-way street. It's like the one-way aisle. Like, who's following that? It's crazy. One-way aisle. Like, what happens if if I'm going down the aisle and I realized I have to pick up like the potato chips that I just passed and they're over here and I got to turn around. What am I going to do? Go around? I got to make the loop because it's a one-way. Come on. I don't do that. But everybody was going crazy. And now we're all these months in and people are starting to get like complacent where it's like, well, all right, I got to get out and I'll put my mask on, but I'm getting tired of this already. I'll open things up already. Everyone's getting mad and annoyed and pissed off. And you turn on the TV and you look at the news and you go, COVID cases are rising. And you don't have to look at the TV. You can look up the numbers yourself. The websites that track this stuff, the numbers are going up in cases. Now, we can handle it better. We know more about it. They can treat it better than they could back in April, let's say. But the cases are on the rise. We're entering the colder months. Restaurants can't stay open like they did in the summer, especially if you're in like the Northeast. Today it's cold. It's rainy and cold today in New Jersey. It's 57 degrees outside. and it's rainy and cold. So if you have a restaurant, how many people are going to come to your restaurant tonight? Yes, you can have 25% inside, but you got to be social distanced. So it's still cutting down the capacity of your restaurant. Can you operate? Is there enough business for you to have servers to serve people at tables, or should you just have takeout? Now, the chain restaurants, I just saw a big chain, Ruby Tuesday, declaring bankruptcy. Even the chain restaurants are going out, some of them. And some of them can weather it. If they have enough, they can weather the storm. But how can you have enough people? Look at that, some of the comments. I see Marty saying, it's dumb. Many employed people think that people getting these checks are lazy and want handouts, and most of these people lost their jobs, can't find a job. You're right, Marty. I've said this before. I said it in the other videos. I said the same thing. That these Republicans are bitching about $600 extra. That was a big holdup. First, they, in their little $1 trillion proposal, they proposed everybody gets $200 a week until now. It was supposed to be like the beginning of October. This was back in August, or when they proposed this, right? They go, everybody's going to get $200 a week until the beginning of October. And then we're going to have supplemental to where you're going to get, if you're unemployed, because we don't feel that you should be making more than you did when you were working, because that promotes laziness and you just not wanting to work because you're making more on unemployment. What we're going to do is we're going to leave it up to the states to then figure out how much you were making before COVID, and then the government will make up that difference to give you 100% of your entire earnings. What? What? You're going to leave it up to the states to have to go back and recalculate how much money that they have to now go to the government and say, oh, okay, this person is supposed to get another $122. This person should get $462. This person should get $329 because it was a max of $600. So it did max out. But the states can't do that. They don't have the resources for that. And that was sort of what the Problem Solvers Caucus introduced when they introduced a $1.5 trillion bill, was kind of like that. The same thing, where you'll get X amount of dollars for this long, and then you'll get this much according to these numbers. No. That's not going to work. There has to be a set amount for a set amount of time across the board for everyone. That's the only way enhanced unemployment from the federal government is going to work. You can't just say, we're only going to give 200 and then a couple more hundred here. It's not, you can't do that. It's too complicated. Like I said, there's states that still haven't even been able to give out the $300 that was passed in August. They haven't even given it out yet. How are they going to calculate all this other money? They can't do it. And I said this before. I said it in the past video. If somebody is getting an extra $600 from unemployment, right, enhanced unemployment, they're making an extra $600, and that extra $600 is making them more money than they were when they were working, they weren't making a whole lot of money to begin with. So with all the crap that goes on in this country with people and taxes, especially after we found out that the President of the United States paid $750 in taxes, and you got Republicans complaining about extra $600 because some guy's making an extra $100 or an extra $200 than they were when they were working, and now they can't even find a job anyway. So what? Who gives a shit? It's a couple $100. Does that matter? In the scheme of things, does that really matter? I just saw a stat the other day that like the top 5 people and the richest people in the country during the pandemic combined made like $45 billion, and you got the government complaining about an extra 600. It's ridiculous. It's not that much money. And what is it doing? It's making people, people are now able to pay their rent on time. They'll be able to pay their electric bill on time. They'll be able to feed their kids. They'll be able to maybe do a little something extra in the time of a pandemic when they're worried about their lives. And it's keeping them happy and it's keeping them spending. The money all goes back into the economy anyway. It all goes back in. And it keeps people happy and it keeps people from going berserk and keeps their anxiety level going down. And let me tell you something. The anxiety level, if they don't pass something quickly, the anxiety level is going to rise because now it's getting darker earlier. People already get depressed in winter because it starts getting dark at 4:30. What do you think is going to happen when it starts to get really cold out and it's getting dark at 4:30 in the afternoon and there's no stimulus and they don't know how they're going to feed their kids or pay their bill, how they can keep the heat on? You don't think that's going to drive people nuts? Of course it is. Right. Marty said, I know people who haven't even gotten their checks when they were qualified. Yeah, there's people still waiting for the first stimulus check. This is why people are pissed off. And you should be pissed. You should be screaming every day at your TV. You should be calling up your Congress people, your representatives, every day and saying, what are you doing? Why did I elect you to do nothing? Last week, the president decides, you know what? Forget it. Shut it down. I've instructed my people to shut it all down. No more negotiation. You know how long that lasted? About 3 hours. The stock market tanked. Everybody, Republicans, Democrats, everybody was like, what the hell is he doing? You know, the election's like a month away. Now you're going to stop negotiations? They were actually making headway. I mean, Pelosi and Mnuchin, they're like trading things back and forth. They're working on language and how it's written. And then all of a sudden, in the middle, the president goes, you know what? Forget it. It's done. Shutting it down. Instead, I want you to concentrate on rushing through my Supreme Court justice nomination. That's what Mitch McConnell went, okay. Because at this point, he's at the mercy of whatever the president says. Trust me. Whatever the president wants, that's what McConnell's going to do. So that whole shutdown of negotiations lasted hours, and then all of a sudden it went from, I'm turning it down, I'm shutting it all down to, oh, now I want standalone bills. A standalone stimulus bill, we need money for the airlines, even though that Nancy Pelosi's been saying for months that she doesn't want standalone bills, that it hurts leverage with everything else, that everything's got to be in a package, which I understand from the negotiating standpoint. I know people want their money. People are hurting. They need money. That's why it's like, get it all done. So then the talks, they're back on. I don't think they were ever really off, to be honest. I mean, Nancy and Mnuchin, they were still talking. It just shifted a little, but for the amount of time that the talks were supposedly stopped, I mean, it wasn't really that long in the beginning anyway. Who cares? That made no difference. So now, the president goes on the other night, Friday, he's on Rush Limbaugh on his radio show for 2 hours, yapping away. Because he's on this steroid high. You know, he's felt better than he has in 20 years, not having given the thought or thinking that you're on steroids and they just pumped you full of drugs. Of course you feel better than you did 20 years ago. You're on all these drugs. That's what drugs do. And maybe that's why you shut it all down. You can't think straight. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know if that's the case or not. Well, then he goes on Rush Limbaugh. Now, we got to remember, Mnuchin introduced a 1.6 counteroffer. Nancy shut that down, said no. Then the president okays a $1.8 trillion offer, right? Then, as Mnuchin is presenting this $1.8 trillion offer to Nancy Pelosi, the president goes on Rush Limbaugh and says, I want the bigger package. In fact, I want a bigger package than the Republicans or the Democrats even want. Now I hear that and I go, he just gave Nancy every reason to say no to 1.8. If you just said you want an even bigger package, then why in the world would Nancy Pelosi agree to 1.8? Let's say she was about to agree to it. And I don't know, I don't think she was. But let's just say for the sake of argument that Nancy Pelosi at 1.8, that's the number she was waiting to hear, right? And she would have agreed to it. She was about to agree to 1.8. And then she hears the president say, hey, I want even more. Well, why then would you agree to 1.8 if you just said you'd agree to more? It makes no sense. That's like when people buy a house and it's listed for, say, $300,000. And then somebody else goes, you know what? You listed for 300. I'm going to give you 350. I'm going to give you 320. I'm going to give you more than what you're asking. Who's going to turn that down? What are they going to say? No? Of course. You're going to wait because you just said you want bigger. And trust me, I don't care what the Republicans said. They're all going to fall in line. They're going to do whatever the president says. First of all, some of them are up for re-election in the Senate. They need this to happen before the election, okay? And you only need 13 Republicans to pass it. All the Democrats are going to vote yes, so you only need 13 Republicans to vote yes. So they're going to do what the president wants. And McConnell, like I said, McConnell at this point, he's at the mercy of the president. Whatever the president says, he's the yes man now. The president, and here's what I think. I think that Donald Trump wants to be the hero. That's why he went on and said, I want more money, because then they go, oh, wow, this guy's saying he wants more money. Well, Mr. President, you want more money, offer more money. I mean, the House passed a $2.2 trillion stimulus package. Say okay to that package. There you go. Republicans are going to fall in line. And if you said you want bigger, go bigger. Instead of a $1,200 stimulus, give everybody $2,000. Give everybody a $2,000 stimulus. Who's going to say no to that? You want to put it in people's heads that you're the hero? You want to put it in people's heads that you're doing something for the people? Go big. Give them $2,000. Give everybody $2,000. Now, I don't know if that's going to work. I don't know if that's going to make anybody go, you know what? I was going to vote for Joe Biden, but since President Trump just gave me $2,000, well, guess what? I'm going to change my vote. Like, I don't know if that's going to happen. I think most people have made up their minds of who they're going to vote for. But if you want any chance of being a hero, there's a way to go. Give the people more money. That's your solution. Make this happen. Otherwise, we're not going to have anything. I'm telling you now, if this doesn't pass before the election, we're going to be waiting until January. Until after actually, I shouldn't say that. If Joe Biden wins the presidency, we're not going to see anything until he's president. If Donald Trump is reelected, then I could see something happening. But not until then. Because if Joe Biden is elected president and then we go into the lame duck session, they ain't going to do anything. I mean, maybe you'll do something to be like, look what I did. I gave everybody money. I mean, at that point, I don't see why he would. Just if you have the opinion of Donald Trump that he doesn't really care about the people, and he only cares about himself, he only cares about the reelection, he doesn't really care, then why would he do anything? That's just my opinion. If you take that stance. I don't know what people think about the president. I don't know what everybody else thinks. But I don't think he would do anything. I think what's going to happen if Donald Trump loses the election, he's going to contest it. I don't know if Joe Biden would contest it. Maybe if it's really close, he would. But I can almost guarantee that Donald Trump is going to contest the election, even if Joe Biden wins by a landslide. He's still going to contest it. Donald Trump will, because he's got nothing to lose by contesting it. They'll just shut it down and say, "Come on, I mean, you lost by 80 electoral votes or whatever. How you can't really? I mean, we can't give this any kind of credibility. You lost by too much. If it's close, it's one thing, but by a landslide, come on, we can't really go by that." Looking at the comments, Marty. Look at Marty's comments. I know people haven't gotten the check. It's going to be horrible for folks in the Midwest like Minnesota, Illinois, Michigan when the cold hits. Yeah, it's going to be if they don't have any money. Donald Trump wants to be a hero because he's the biggest egomaniac narcissist in office. I can't argue with that. Trump literally wants to buy votes from the people. Well, Trump wants to suppress the vote. I believe it. I mean, that's my vote. That's my vote. That's what I believe. That's my opinion. And it's just obvious. There's states that have been doing mail-in balloting for years, decades, and there's never been a problem. Look, it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but there's no widespread voter fraud. There's no evidence of it like the president claims. There just isn't. I mean, there is not. You can sit there and point to isolated incidents that have happened with voter fraud, but there's no widespread voter fraud. And my take on this is the president keeps saying it's going to be a disaster, there's going to be fraud everywhere, it's inviting fraud. Of course, he is voted by mail, and he says there's a difference between absentee balloting and the mail-in balloting, because I know here where I am in New Jersey, everybody got mailed a ballot because of COVID. And he's trying to say the distinction is that absentee means you have to request it. Mail-in, they're just sending it to everybody, and anybody can take your ballot out of your mailbox. But look, they match it up. There's a way. It's not just somebody else to take it, fill it out, and send it in. You have these signatures on file. Signatures have to match. There's barcodes. There's all sorts of security put in place that they never talk about. Different ballots in different states, they look differently. I think even in the same state, they look differently. So it's not like there's one ballot and then that's it. And then you can make new ones. And of course, there's always going to be something. It's not perfect. It never is. Even in a normal election, it's never perfect. But it's not enough that's going to make any kind of a difference. But what the president's been saying about this widespread voter fraud, there's no evidence of it, number one. Number two, if you're really so worried about voter fraud and you're so worried about the integrity of the election, as the president of the United States, wouldn't you do everything in your power to secure that election, to make sure there is no voter fraud, to make sure that people can vote by mail-in balloting because we're in the middle of a pandemic, and to do everything in your power as president to make sure it doesn't happen, to make it as secure as possible? Isn't that what you would do? Instead of going, oh, it's fraud, it's rigged. Again, with the rigged. He said it 4 years ago. He said the election was rigged. And then he won. So now he's saying, the only way I can lose is if it's rigged. Now, as an American, I don't care who you are. I don't care what party you're a part of. As an American, when you hear the President of the United States tell you that your election, our election is rigged, you should be outraged because he's undermining the process. That's dangerous. And like I said, if you're the president, you should be trying to secure the election, not trying to say, oh, it's rigged. If I don't win, it's rigged. Who says that? How could it be fair? Because now, again, like I just said before, he's going to contest it because in his mind, it's rigged if he doesn't win. Like he thinks there's no possible way he can lose unless it's rigged. That doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. We don't work that way in this country. You're undermining the process of the country. And you got people going, yeah, it's rigged. Yeah, he's right. Yeah, go Trump, MAGA. But we're in the middle of a pandemic. They have balloting boxes. Now you have these state governors, like in Texas, one balloting box for the county. They go, there's a county district that has like that 3 million people live in. 3 million people. One box. One drop-off box. One. There was like multiple. Get rid of all of them. One. How is that not suppressing people, not suppressing the vote, or not trying to suppress the vote? How is that not trying to suppress the vote? Of course it is. Because if it wasn't, you'd be doing everything to make sure it was secured, to make sure people vote, to make sure that their vote is counted. Now, I will say this. I believe that there should be mail-in balloting. I believe that if people don't want to go out, they shouldn't have to. At the same time, I believe that the polls should be open. I know in New Jersey, you can't go to a voting booth. I think if you have some kind of disability or something and you can't mail in, then maybe you can, they're setting up something, I think. But I know, like, I can't go like normal and go to a voting booth and vote. Why not? Why not? It's COVID, the COVID. Gotta watch, gotta be careful because of the COVID. Well, if people are waiting on lines, and I agree with that thinking. People go, well, they're waiting on lines here, they're waiting on lines there. You gotta wait on line when you go to the supermarket. You gotta wait on line everywhere you go. Social distance, make it safe, and have the polls open. Now, there's a lot more involved. I don't know. What do you got to clean off the lever every time? You know, people are touching it. They got to clean it. I would think poll workers got to go in there with the Lysol or whatever disinfectant they're using to clean it off. I mean, there is that. But that would be a way of making it secure. That would be a way of making people able to go to the polls. And I think you should be able to. Yeah, the debates, at this point, Marty, you got to be honest. I don't care about the debates. People made up their minds already. After the last debate, after that debacle, it was just ridiculous. Trump he doesn't abide by the rules. You know, and they talked about a virtual debate. He goes, why am I going to waste my time with that? That they can cut him off and things like that. With the way he wants to debate, it becomes a mess. And it does. You know, the whole debate was a mess. Think what you want of it in terms of who won, who lost, whatever. But at this point, we don't really need any more debates. I think people, for the most part, have made up their minds of who they're going to vote for. I mean, I don't get the whole, I'm still undecided. I mean, what more do you need to see? I mean, seriously. And do some research. Don't just watch the news. Don't just watch videos that pop up on the internet when you're surfing. Do actual research. And when you see some crazy story, research the story. See if it's legit. Try to find out. Because there's a lot of misinformation that's out there. If you really are undecided. And then everybody, look, I can't tell anybody how to vote. I could give you my opinion and I can tell you what I think, but I'm not going to tell you how to vote. Everybody's got to vote for who they believe will have their best interest, whether it's Donald Trump or Joe Biden. That's it. It's not my job to tell you who to vote. I can give you my opinion about what I think of the president and what he said and what he does and why I'm going to vote the way I'm going to vote. I can only tell you that. But I've always said this, man. If you support Donald Trump, you have your reasons. In the same way that people have their reasons for supporting Joe Biden. Everybody has their particular reasons. Look, some people are going to vote for Donald Trump because they don't like Joe Biden. Some people are going to vote for Joe Biden because they just don't like Donald Trump. Some people are going to vote because of the issues, because of policy. Everybody has their reasons. And everybody's got to find what aligns with their thinking, and that's how they're going to vote. You're not going to change anybody's minds. You know, I see arguments everywhere on social media about this one and that one, and you're an idiot, and you're stupid, and Trump's this, and Biden's that, and I see it all day long. People fighting with each other. I've seen friendships, 30, 40 years friendships destroyed over politics. That's what this election has done to people. It really has. Yeah, let's see, Marty's typing in, if I win, the American people love me, according to Trump. Also, Trump, if I lose, the Democrats and CNN will rig the election. Yeah, well, that's what he's saying, pretty much. I mean, you can't argue with that. He is saying that. He is saying that if he loses, it was rigged, which is what he said the last time. The difference is, the last time he wasn't the president. Now he's the president. He's not the outsider he was the last time. That's the other thing that I hear a lot about the election. When people like to talk about the polls, you know, Joe Biden's way ahead in the polls, and they go, oh, so Hillary was way ahead in the polls too, and look what happened. Yeah, but there was a lot more hatred for Hillary Clinton back then than there was even for Donald Trump. Now, and I think that a lot of people voted for Donald Trump because they said, you know what? Maybe he will be good for the country. Maybe it is good to get a guy like Donald Trump, never ran for public office, never held a public office. He's a billionaire, so we think or thought. He knows something. Let's give the guy a chance. Why not? What else? What's our other option? Hillary Clinton. So you know what? I'll vote for Donald Trump. That was the thinking of a lot of people. Also, you got to remember the fight for the nomination between Hillary and Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders, that a lot of Bernie's people, they were not going to vote for Hillary. So they either did one or two things. They either voted for Trump or they didn't vote. And now I think Bernie's people are behind Joe Biden. And yeah, there's going to be people that aren't going to vote for either candidate, or they're going to write somebody in, or they're going to vote for the third party candidate. You know, and that always happens. So there always is a level of that. But I think at this point, you have your mind made up, and I think the people that are going to vote, they know who they're going to vote for and why. And Trump is no longer an outsider. He's got a record. And the whole coronavirus is what really did him in. There's a lot of people that are really unhappy with his response to coronavirus. That's just fact. Look, the Republicans, the campaign, they could try to spin it however they want. He did this, he did that, he shut down China, he shut down flights, he banned flights. He didn't ban anything. They love to say that, but do research and find out that they restricted certain flights. There was also a lot of people still coming in. So they make it sound like I banned China from ever coming here. That's not what happened at all. And you don't have to believe me on it. Just look it up. Do the research. He didn't ban China. He didn't ban all flights from China. Didn't happen. There was restrictions, and there was still a lot of flights that came in. And he didn't ban anything from Europe until later on, when everybody from Europe who had it, then they were coming over. And they said it early on, man. It was like in the beginning of March, they were like, it's not a question, the experts were saying, it's not a question of if it ever comes here, it's a question of when it comes here. And how are we going to respond to it? And I think his response is what's going to do him in the election, especially after the Bob Woodward tapes of him admitting on tape, look, it's bad. I know it's bad. I purposely downplay it. I still downplay it because I don't want to cause a panic. Which made no sense. I mean, come on. He causes a panic with a lot of other things that he says. So, like, why is that all of a sudden going to cause more of a panic or less of a panic? Says a lot of things that are panic. Does a lot of things that people panic about. You got to be truthful with the public because it's protecting people. I mean, how many stories have you heard of some guy who believed in Donald Trump, believed in what he was saying when he was saying, oh, it's going to go away, it's no big deal, it'll disappear. And they believed him, went out without a mask, caught COVID, and a couple of weeks later died. I've heard multiple stories of that happening. You could look them up. Anything I say, you could look up. The president of the United States, no matter who it is, has to lead by example. And when you hear the president go, masks really aren't for me, you're not leading by example. People listen to what you say. And, the White House and the campaign, they try to explain it away and try to go, well, the American people can make up their own minds and make their own decisions on how they want to handle things. But when you have the president actively saying, look, it's not that bad. It's just like a flu. It's going to go away. I'm not wearing a mask. I'm holding rallies up there outside. Rallies that are outside. No social distancing, no mask wearing. You're not leading by example. So people are going to listen to that. That's fact. Why did he make people sign a disclaimer, whatever you want to call it, when they went into a rally? Why? Why was that happening? Because if people got sick, he didn't want to get sued. That's why. And then he goes and gets COVID. And I never doubted that. A lot of people were out there and they were like, they didn't believe that the president actually had COVID. They thought he was lying about it. They thought he was lying about it for sympathy. And I go, that's not going to get sympathy votes. It's just not. I mean, come on. People made up their minds who they're going to vote for. And most people that he thought that he was going to get sympathy, they were like, good, see, good, you got COVID. Douche. I mean, that's what they were saying. They weren't like, oh my God, the president has COVID. I mean, yeah, that's what the news people were saying. If you watch any station, no matter what it was, major networks, Fox, CNN, they were all saying that they wish the president well and they want him to recover. That's what they were saying. But the people, they weren't saying that. You go to social media and look at what people were saying. I mean, it's brutal. Because that's how people felt. Look, you went around without a mask and now look. And then, once again, not being honest with the people about his condition. Now, the White House in general, not just the Trump administration, but White Houses over the course of time have always kept close to the vest the condition of the president. And I understand why. You say, well, you want to know. You want to know how is our president doing? Do we need to do this? Do we need to do that? Do we need to invoke the 25th Amendment? Does Pence need to take over? There are questions like that. But there's also, we got to remember, if we know, then our adversaries know. And we don't want that. You don't want adversaries knowing that the president is on his deathbed. You don't want that. So it's a line that you go, well, I can understand, the American people deserve to know the truth, but at the same time, do we want the adversaries that want to do us harm? Do we? I don't think we do. So there's that line, but when you have the doctors come out, and it looked like that, remember that cabinet meeting when all the people went around and they praised Trump? And I go, thank you. I'm so honored to serve you, President Trump, and thank you. It's such an honor to be here. The doctors did that, which was pretty funny. The doctors did the exact same thing, which was hysterical. They came out and they go, we're so honored that we get to fix the president, I guess. I'm looking at myself and I'm frozen. Look at my face. It's funny. That's great. I like it. Oh, here I go. So, they came out and they didn't even answer any questions, which is weird. It made no sense. What they were saying. The doctor goes, well, we didn't want to say anything because in case the course of we didn't want to affect the course of the virus. The virus was listening in. The virus had some say in what was going to happen. Oh, wait. They're talking about us. We better ramp up. It was the virus was, wait, the doctors, they're on to me. The doctors are on to us. Oh, my COVID army, red alert. The doctors are on to us. They're on to us. They're talking about us. We better ramp it up now. It made no sense. I do think it's important with the president now about to go hold some rallies. They say that he wants to be basically somewhere every single day up until the election, that they release, when he last tested negative before the positive test. It's kind of important for contact tracing. White House still hasn't released that, probably never will. How many people are sick now from the White House? 30 something, I think it is. I think that's what we're up to from that event from 2 weeks ago. I don't know. Think we should know? Give me a comment. Do you think we should know? Do you think the people should know when he last tested negative? Do you think that's important? I do. That's just me. Not like I'm going to a Trump rally or anything. But look, you have this event where all these people were there, not social distance and most not wearing masks. And then they all went their separate ways to wherever. And you don't know who they became in contact with. So yeah, it's a little bit important to find out where they were and who they were with. And I guess those people who were there, they could do that on their own, They themselves can decide that we're going to contact trace and I'm going to tell everybody I came in contact with, and they could do it themselves. They're going to have to. But I think it's important for us to know. We they keep talking about it, and it becomes cliche, and you start hearing it so much, and you're like, oh, shut up already. I've heard it about crushing the virus. We have to crush the virus. But there is some truth to that. There's no reason why we have cases on the rise when other countries have crushed the virus, because they wore masks and they social distance and they shut it down. And then people were like, okay, we're not going to go out and we're going to listen. And look, the virus is hardly there anymore. That's how they did it. That's how they did it. Look at Korea, South Korea. Look at New Zealand. South Korea, they heard about this. No, they said, they were like, yo, look, everybody stay the fuck inside. If you want to go out, you got to go to the store. You got to have a pass. Like you're in school with a hall pass. That's the only reason you can go out. And like one person, maybe two people can go out, and we only allow X amount of people in the store. I mean, they were like strict for 6 weeks. 6 weeks. And when people aren't in touch with each other for 6 weeks, guess what? The virus has no place to go. And it works through the system of the people that have it, and then they make it through, and then they're not contagious anymore, and it's gone. Well, we never did that in this country. Why not? Why did we not do that? Why couldn't we do that in this country? Why couldn't we crush the virus in that way? Explain that. Because people don't listen. Because we've been told since we were children, it's been ingrained in every single person's head. Ingrained. United States of America is a free country. I can say what I want. We got free speech. We got the right to bear arms. We got the right to assemble. We're free in this country. It's a free country. I can do whatever I want. So then when we're faced with this pandemic, and they said, look, your local officials said, look, people, we're going to shut businesses down. And unless you're an essential worker, you need to stay home. And people went, what do you mean? It's a free country. I'm going to protest. I'm going to go on a sign with a sign on the front lawn of my state capitol, my state house. And I'm going to yell at people in cars. And I'm going to block traffic. Because we're in a free country. And I'm not going to wear a mask either. Fuck you. I'm not wearing a goddamn mask. Fuck masks. That's why it's October and cases are on the rise because of that attitude. The attitude that the president stokes. That's fact. That's not me trying to make up something. It's a fact. The president, the first thing he did when he got out of the hospital, went to the balcony and ripped the mask off. Well, like it's so dramatic, and ripped the mask off. Look at me, like a Vita on the balcony. Don't cry for me with my mask on. I mean, this is the attitude of our president. So of course people are going to listen to him. A segment of the people. I got doctors that I know. They're all like, man, listen to the other doctors. Don't listen to the president. Like, listen to the experts that know about this. That's who you need to be listening to. Which, makes sense. Like, that's who I'm going to listen to. I'm going to listen to a doctor. I'm not going to listen to, like, some guy he's the president of the United States. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, and he's got a lot of information, of course, that we don't have. He's privy to a lot of it. Like, like that information that the virus is really bad. It's airborne. Like what he told Bob Woodward, but didn't tell the American people, at the same time downplayed it. What about that? So I'm not going to listen to him. I'm going to listen to the doctor. I'm going to listen to Dr. Fauci. And I think it's insane. It's craziness to me that Dr. Fauci was getting death threats. How does Dr. Fauci get death threats? Because he didn't agree with what Donald Trump was saying, the president. Or people took that as he was going against what the president was saying. It made no sense to me. This is a guy. Forget about that Donald Trump's the president. Forget about it. Make it somebody else. Make it anybody else who's not an expert. Make it like your local, garage mechanic, right? You got your local garage mechanic. Could you imagine if you went to your garage mechanic and you go, hey, Lou, I understand. Lou, you're my brake guy. You work on brakes. You work on my engine. You fix my transmission. You're great, man. By the way, COVID, mask or not, what do you think? I mean, you're an expert in cars. You must be an expert in COVID. I mean, I know this guy, Dr. Fauci. He says we should wear a mask, but I don't know. It's Dr. Fauci. I mean, what do you think, Lou? I'm going to listen to you. It doesn't make sense. Dr. Fauci, this guy is dedicated over half his life, most of his life, to the study of viruses and infectious diseases. This man has served 6 administrations. Ronald Reagan, George Bush, Bill Clinton, George W., Barack Obama, Donald Trump. 6 administrations of being the top expert in viruses and infectious diseases. Nobody knows more than this guy, arguably, in the entire world. Why in the world did you not listen to this guy? Why would anybody pick the word over any other person? I don't care who it is, over Dr. Fauci. It makes no sense. So I'm going to listen to this guy and they go, oh, well, he flip-flopped. First he said about not wearing masks. Then he said you should wear masks. Dude, Dr. Fauci looks at research and science. That's what he looks at. The research and the science. And guess what? It's always changing. They learn more and more about the virus. They learn more and more about the science of the virus and how it operates and what it responds to. And the more you study it, the more you learn about it. So something that they might have thought about it 2, 3, 4 months ago, they might go, oh, guess what we learned? What we thought then isn't right. That's what scientists do. They research, they study, and they make adjustments according to their findings. It's the idiot that wants to look back and go, well, he said 3 months ago that this is the right way. That's what he said. Now he's saying something different. Guy's a hypocrite. No, he's not a hypocrite. He's a scientist that's doing research. And that's how you learn things. I don't get it. I think like people don't think in their mind, like, what's wrong with you? You smoke too much weed? You lose too many brain cells? That you don't understand what a scientist does and why his recommendations will change over month to month? That's why. But still, why would you believe anybody else? And then you have these people, he's part of the left, he's a Democrat, look at him, and they show pictures of him with like some Democrats or something. Like, first of all, so what? This guy doesn't care about Democrats. He doesn't care about Republicans in terms of his findings. He cares about people and saving people. He doesn't care what your political affiliation is. And it shouldn't matter. Wearing a mask shouldn't matter. Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or a Libertarian or Independent or whatever. It's about being a human and protecting other humans. That's it. It shouldn't be political. So I don't get it. I don't understand it. Today, the big news is, Trump's running this ad with Fauci in it saying something along the lines of we couldn't do any more than what we're doing or he's doing or whatever. And Fauci's saying they're taking his comments out of context. I don't know. I haven't watched the news stories to see what the context was. I'm just telling you that I know Fauci's out there saying his comments have been taken out of context. And for the most part, when I watch Dr. Fauci in interviews, he kind of always says, like, whenever they try to ask him like a question to sway like his answer to like be political, he doesn't answer it. Like he'll say, I'm not going to get into that. And he just wants to talk about, look, this is what my findings are, and this is what my recommendations are, and this is what we need to do. And he's pretty much straightforward about it in terms of the virus. He doesn't want to get into all the political crap that has surrounded it, which that's not his area of expertise. His area of expertise is infectious disease and virus. So I'm going to listen to that guy. That's the guy I'm going to listen to. And if that guy says wearing a mask will cut down on the spread of the virus, then guess what? I'm going to wear the mask. Because maybe somebody gave me the virus and I don't even know that I have it. And if I don't wear a mask, I'm going to give it to somebody else. I don't know. again, does this mean it's the end all be all? I mean, look, the president of the United States got the coronavirus. This guy is tested, I don't know how much. They still haven't said that. They said he was tested regularly. We don't know what regularly even means. Does it mean once a week, once a month, once a day, once an hour? I mean, nobody knows what that even means by regularly. So I think it's important that we find out what that means, and we'll probably never find out. So the fact of the matter is that we are now in middle of October, and there's no stimulus deal. And there's not a lot of talk about it today when it comes to the news about stimulus. I update this, and I'm looking at some stories here, and none of them are anything new. Some websites, they like update stuff every day, but it's like the same stuff over and over again. So I don't really pay attention to it. I don't even look at it. Like, I want to see that it says 22 minutes ago that the story came out, not that a story from yesterday. And I know certain sites, like I know the sites that they don't really say anything different from day to day. It's like the same crap every single day. Like there's one site, and I'm not going to name the site, but you could find it pretty easily. But there's one site that all they do every single day, they do a timeline. If the package passes today, or I should say, if they agree on a stimulus package today, and then the House votes on it tomorrow, and then the Senate votes on it on the day after that, and then the president signs it the day after that, like the timeline. So if it's done on October 24th, October 25th, then October 26th, if it's done on November 1st, November 2nd, November 3rd, like every day, it's like a timeline. I don't want to hear timelines anymore. I'm tired. I don't care. It doesn't matter. What we want to hear is an agreement has been made. We want to hear that the White House and the House Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, have agreed. We want to hear that it is going for a vote in the House. We want to hear that the Republicans are going to vote yes, and then we can get this money out to people. That's what I want to hear. Enough with the timelines. Enough with the speculation already. Let's get it done. And Mr. President, if you want a bigger stimulus, then go get a big stimulus. You're the guy in charge. You're the guy that signs it. You're the guy that has influence, even though, you can't make the decision without the House and Senate, but you have the influence. So you go on and say you want a bigger package than the Democrats and the Republicans, then do it. Instruct your man, Steve Mnuchin, to go, all right, Nancy, we're going to give you 2.2. We're going to give you everything you asked for. And because Mr. President wants to do even more, he's going to up your $1,200 to $2,000. What do you think of that? Think Nancy's going to say no? Of course not. Nancy's going to be like, all right. And the president can say, I gave the American people even more than what the Democrats asked for. People love it. Who's going to say none of that? Does that mean the president's going to get more votes? I don't know. Maybe. Worth a shot. Got nothing to lose. At this point, maybe it will. Maybe somebody who's sitting home right now who goes, man, I need money. And then they find out tomorrow that the president says, I'm going to give you $2,000 in stimulus money. That guy might be like, you know what? I'm going to go vote for Donald Trump because he gave me $2,000. Could happen. Or it doesn't. I mean, you got nothing to lose at this point. And if you think the Republicans aren't going to vote for it, they're going to vote for it. Trust me. I guess you only need 13. All they need is 13 Republicans to vote yes, to push it over the ledge, to make it happen. And they're going to fall all right in line, especially if they're up for re-election. They're definitely going to do it. Mitch, he's up for re-election, so he's going to do it. Mitch McConnell he's become a yes man now to the president. Oh, you want to shut things down? Okay, shut it down. All right, whatever you want. Oh, you want to start it up again? Okay, fine with me. Start up again. Oh, you want to give everybody $2,000 in a brand new car? All right, give everybody $2,000 in a brand new car. Sounds good to me. As long as the people of the state of Kentucky reelect me, I'll do whatever you want. Da-da-da-da-da. You know, that's how they think. That's politics. So the president has the influence. If he said he wants the bigger package, then go bigger. Who's stopping you? I don't think Nancy is going to turn down the extra money. If you say, we're going to give you everything in your package that you voted on, House, except we don't want to give $1,200 stimulus checks. We want to give $2,000 stimulus checks. And we want to give $1,000 to every dependent or something like that. Nobody's going to turn that down. That's going to be like, hey, okay. Sounds good to me. Let's do it. You want to be the hero? Be the hero. Go big and be the hero. Because you went on Rush Limbaugh the other day and said you want a bigger package than the Democrats and the Republicans want. Effectively handing Nancy on a silver platter, right? The okay to go 1.8 trillion. I'm not going to vote on. I'm not going to accept that. You just said you wanted to go bigger. So why would I accept 1.8 trillion? Does that make any sense? Of course I'm not going to accept that. You said you would go bigger. So go bigger. Do it. Don't just talk about it. Be about it. Plain and simple. No one's going to argue. I'm not going to argue. You want to give me 2 G's? I'm good. Nobody else is going to argue about it either. And if you want to make it, you want to change the qualifications, what they say, anybody that makes under 75,000, right? We'll get to 1,200 and then up to 99, incrementally less. And then once you make over 99,000 per individual, you get none. All right, we'll up it. Up it to like 150,000. Those people aren't going to turn money down. Listen, money is money, man. Christmas is coming. And Christmas isn't going to be happy unless people got money to spend. That's the truth. Let's be real. Christmas time is coming. And unless people got money to spend, like, stimulus, hello, putting the money back into the economy, that's where it's going to go. Keep these businesses alive and keep them thriving. Keeping people happy. Making sure people don't go berserk. I mean, look, you want to support the drug companies and prescription medication? Give people nothing. Anxiety will go through the roof, right? Prescriptions for Xanax and Zoloft and Klonopin and everything else will go through the roof because people will be scared. They're already scared. And now it's winter, or we're going into winter, and we're getting darker earlier. And that always brings depression. And it's going to bring more depression if they don't do something quickly. That's just life. That's just how it works normally. People aren't going to be going outside. They're not going to be dining out. I mean, I live in New Jersey. New Jersey is known for what? The Jersey Shore. You think people are going to be headed out to the boardwalks? People aren't going there now. I mean, maybe on the weekends because the weather is nice, if it's a nice day out like we had over this past weekend. But once it starts to cool down, the boardwalk's closed. Nobody's even open. Yeah, you can walk along it, but that's about it. It's not like the businesses are thriving. You got to do something. You got to put money in the people's pockets, man. They're afraid. How are they going to pay their bills? How are they going to put food on their table? How are they going to keep the lights on? How are they going to clothe their children? It's insane to me that it's October 12th. And we still don't have a stimulus deal. And me talking about it, I could say it over and over again. It doesn't make sense. And these people that we've entrusted to take care of us as Americans, they've been elected to represent the people, to do what's right for the people. They need to step it up. And they need to get this thing passed. And there was a point in time that I could blame each individual person and say, now it's your fault. At this moment in time, it's your fault. And at another moment in time during the course of these negotiations over months and months and months, it was your fault. And then it became your fault. But to be honest, now it's everybody's fault. It's everybody's fault. But I think it's circling back again. Honestly, when the president says he wants to go big, then go big and do it and get it done. I mean, he said it. 2 days after shutting everything down, he said it. But that's what he said. Now we're all involved with this Amy Coney Barrett nomination, rushing the Supreme Court nominee through to make sure we have a 6-3 majority. So when this Obamacare hearing comes out, what's going to happen? And if Donald Trump loses the election to Joe Biden, he will undoubtedly contest it. And if it goes to the Supreme Court, look, 6-3 majority. Doesn't mean it can't go the other way, but, 6-3 majority of conservatives. Hey, what do you think? Got a good shot. So unless Joe Biden wins by like a landslide, Supreme Court's going to have to make a decision. I think they're going to have to make a decision anyway. Even if he does win by a landslide, it's still going to be contested. I don't think there's any possible way that Donald Trump does not contest the election. No possible way that doesn't happen unless he wins. Just like I said that in 2016 with Hillary. I go, if Trump loses, he's going to contest it. Then he won. Remember, he said it was rigged. He said it was rigged then. And then he won. I never heard another peep about it being rigged until now. Until the last few months when it was like, we're in COVID. We're in a COVID world. We got to do mail-in voting. All of a sudden, it's rigged if I don't win. What? I mean, you want to talk about undermining our entire process? That's what that's doing. Undermining the entire process. If I don't win, it's rigged. What are you telling people? What's the message that's being sent by saying something like that? It's not a good message. You're basically saying that our entire system of the way we elect our president is fucked up. That's what he's saying. It's fucked up. And if I don't win, it's fucked up. I mean, what do you say to that? What do you do about that? Well, you have to ensure that. You have to ensure that our elections are safe. Our elections are secured. As the president, that's what he should be doing. Not saying it's rigged, not saying it's going to be fraud, not saying it's going to widespread voter fraud. Look what's going on. It's never going to be fair. It's going to be rigged. Why can't it be rigged in the other direction? Why is it? It's only rigged if he loses. Then it's rigged. If rigged is rigged. I don't get it. I just don't. I don't understand how anybody who's a citizen of this country isn't concerned with not only that the president is saying that, but the messaging behind it, what it's doing to our country as a whole, and what's being done to secure the election. I don't get it. That's what we should be talking about. That's what the president should be talking about. Giving people, everyone, confidence in our election. Confidence in the process. Especially during a pandemic. Not stoking fear and saying, oh my God, it's rigged. Look what they're doing. It's rigged. That's not what the president should be doing. That's not what any president should be doing. Make it secure then. You're the president. That's why it doesn't make sense to me when I keep hearing this is what's going to happen in Joe Biden's America. Well, what's happening now when you're the president? Hello, did you forget that piece? You're not the outsider anymore. If you were saying that in 2016 when you weren't in charge, well, then you could say it. But you can't say it now when you're the guy who's the president. And maybe I just wasn't paying attention all these years. But like, I don't think I ever heard, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I ever heard, somebody say, like, talk about the Democratic run cities or the Republican run cities. I mean, I used to hear like, oh, a state votes mostly like Republican, or a state votes Democratic, votes blue, votes red, like a state. But I don't remember ever in my life hearing about like the Democratic or Republican run cities. Like, now we're getting down to the cities. Like, I don't remember that. They talk about all the rioting and looting, and cops don't want to do anything, or they're being told not to do anything, and look what's happening in our country. Well, dude, you are the president, man. You're stoking all this. That's what I think. That's my opinion. I do have the right to my opinion. To still the United States of America. You don't have to agree with me, but that's my opinion. That Donald Trump has stoked this type of thinking. That, yes, it's okay to do these things. Because he never comes out and says it's not. You know, people, this whole thing of the debate about not denouncing white supremacists and hate groups. And I see people posting like, well, he did. He did denounce white supremacy, and he did. I'm not arguing that he did. I mean, I know people want to act like he's never denounced white supremacy. No, that's not true. He has denounced white supremacy. Now, he's denounced it because I think they've made him denounce it. Like, his people, the advisors, were like, yo, you got to denounce this. Like, you know, remember the whole, there are good people on both sides thing? Like, yo, you got to like come out and say like you denounce hatred and there's no place in our country, white supremacists, like there's no place in our country. It doesn't deserve anything. Like you got to come out and say it. And he did in this like prepared speech. Because you could always tell when Donald Trump, at the rallies, he's just kind of like, hey, he's always leaning to the side. He's always, hey, do you see what these Democrats are seeing? You know, he's got that kind of, that sort of rich person swag of like, everything's sort of nonchalant, just sort of hanging out. Hey, yeah, you know, did you hear what was going on there? Sleepy Joe was hiding in his basement. Hey, you see all these people, they're crazy. Oh, they say I'm not presidential. I'm unpresidential. You know, can you believe that they're saying these things about me? Like, he has that, like, way of talking when he's just sort of, like, hanging out at his rallies. And, you know, he has, like, I guess he has the points that he wants to make, but he's just kind of just hanging out. Oh, you know, Sleepy Joe mine. You see that monster, Kamala Harris, or Kamala, whatever he calls it, you know, because, you know, yeah, we're just kind of hanging out around about. But when they give him a speech to read, he's very like, I'd like to tell the American people that I will undoubtedly say that I denounce white supremacy and all hate groups, because there is no place that hate has no place in America. And we cannot have any kind of hatred of any kind in America. That we can't have. And that's it. That's his statement. So that's what he said. And something like that. You know, it's always like this speech, right? But during the debate, and Chris Wallace was like, do you denounce white supremacy and hate groups? And whatever he said, do you denounce? And instead of the president just coming right out and going, yes, I denounce all hate groups in the country. There's no place for this. It doesn't belong in our country. We don't want it. It's not good for the country. It's terrible. We don't want people like this. I don't want it. No, what did he say? Who do you want me to denounce? Like, because he knew that if he wanted like a specific group. Who do you want me to denounce? Everyone. I mean, why couldn't you just say I denounce it? Across the board. Why does there have to be a specific group? Just denounce everyone. Anybody who's in a hate group, white supremacists, no matter who they are. Whatever hate groups are out there. Just denounce all of them. Why do you have to have a specific one? He should just said, I denounce everyone. And I'll be honest. I know they made a lot. It's been made, talked about a lot, about the whole stand down, stand by that he did say to the Proud Boys. Stand by. I don't think he meant it like that. I think he was just yapping and just talking and just said it, not even realizing what the hell he was saying. I believe that. I mean, look, I'm no fan. If you haven't guessed already, I'm no fan of Donald Trump. I'm not voting for him. I'm voting for Biden. I have now said that. It is now officially on the record that I, Matt Blaze, will be voting for Joe Biden. So I'm no fan of Donald Trump, but I call it like I see it. And in the heat of that exchange, I don't think he meant it in that way. I just don't. I think he meant to say, like, stay on the side or don't do anything. And it came out stand by and people latched onto it. That's my honest opinion. Again, it doesn't mean that I'm a big Trump supporter, but that's my opinion. And I've always said that. I thought the VP debate, like the moderators are all terrible. That was Susan Page. She was horrible. She let Pence talk too much. She didn't stop him. She just let him go on. And she should have stopped him. And Kamala smiled and did what she had to do. You know, they talked about that with her. And a lot of people were kind of upset that she didn't go harder at Pence in those moments. But there's a reason. And that reason is, and this is the reality of it, is that she did not want to get the label of the angry black woman. And they still labeled her that way. She still got the label. But that's the reason. She smiled. She looked at him. She, Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking. You know, she was calm. And she had to be, because she didn't want to come off as the angry black woman. And they still called her that. I think she did everything she had to do. But the moderators on both debates were terrible. And I think I've said this kind of jokingly, but it's true. The debate moderators, they need a gavel. They really do. So when somebody like Pence or the president or Biden or Kamala or whoever's debating, if they go over their time and they can keep speaking. Now, I can understand, like, you're allowed to finish the point. Like, if you're in the middle of a sentence and they go, that's your time, just finish your point. Finish the sentence. But, like, then they keep going on. Like, they keep talking. And to me, that's when you need to be shut up. So then it's like, you know, that's your time. And then they go, well, I also want to make the point that, you know, that's the time when the moderator needs to go, your time is up. Shut up. How do you respond to the next person? You need a gavel. You need some kind of control. And that's the only way they're going to get control, is you keep smacking that gavel. Or the debate should be moderated by judges. Like I said, jokingly, Judge Judy. Let her be the debate moderator. Nobody got to mess with Judge Judy. They have to do something, but I don't know if there's going to be another debate. Biden says he's going to have a town hall. Let him have a town hall. That's fine. I don't care, you know. Trump's going to have his rallies. Biden can have a town hall. It's all right. I understand why they didn't want to have a debate. Hey, I wouldn't want to have a debate either with a guy who just had COVID, who we don't know when he had it, when he got it. He says he's cured. He says he's immune. I know they had to put it up on Twitter that this about misinformation because he said he was immune. And there's no evidence of because you've had it, you're now immune to ever having it again. There's no evidence of that. So I don't know. But The Fly was great. Love The Fly. I knew immediately, of course, everybody did. It's not like I'm some genius that knew SNL was going to do something with The Fly. From The Fly's perspective, I called it immediately, and so did other people. Can't say I'm the only one. I did say it was Brundlefly, so I was happy that they went with the Jeff Goldblum thing on SNL. I thought that was great. It was pretty funny how Kamala didn't say anything. Maybe she couldn't even see it. And they were like 12 feet away with plexiglass between her and plexiglass by him. She might not have said it. Even if she did, I don't think she would have said anything. It would have been kind of funny if she did. Or even if like the moderator, she was been like, excuse me, Vice President Pence, you got a little something. You got a little something right there. No, a little loud. Yeah. It's on your head. Yeah. That would have been funny. But yeah, fly on his head for 2 minutes. That was the whole debate. That's all anybody could talk about. That's all anybody paid attention to. Was the big fly. He had a fly in his head. Vice President. Nobody cared what he had to say anyway. I mean, he just has to say what the president wants, and they did the same thing. I mean, that's, look, when you have a vice presidential debate, the whole point of the vice presidential debate is to not fuck things up. Like, that's really all they need not to. Just don't fuck it up. You reinforce the president's views, and that's it. That's all you got to do. You do that, you're all good. So there won't be a debate this week, which is fine. Maybe there'll be another one next week. I don't know. We'll see if they decide to have one or not. Personally, I don't think it's needed. Everybody kind of knows who you're going to vote for. If you don't, I mean, I'm sure there's a few that don't, but I don't know that we need debates anymore. I think we've seen all we need to see. Some of the questions, they avoid, they deflect, they all do that. The thing is, at least with the VP debate, you got to hear some kind of policy. You heard something about policy. The president's debate, you didn't hear anything of that because Donald Trump just kept interrupting the whole time. They all say, he won. Right after the debate, they thought he won. Of course, Fox said he won, Fox News. I mean, Hannity, right after the debate, said he wants to see more of it. He goes, I think I love this format. Just let them go at it and argue with each other. Well, of course he said that because the president, like a lunatic, wouldn't shut up. I mean, you can't. The reason for a moderator is to take control. Chris Wallace had no control. And that was because the president's fault. I mean, yeah, Joe Biden came back at him because he had to. Will you shut up, man? I mean, you just keep yapping. What was he supposed to say? Guy wouldn't shut up. I mean, even Chris Christie, who coached the president, debate prep the president, said he came in too hot. Christie said it. A lot of other Republicans said it. He was too hot. There's a point. You got to make your point and shut up and let the other guy respond. You keep talking, it makes you look horrible. And that's what it did. It made him look horrible. It made him look like a bully. You wouldn't let Biden say anything. And nobody got anything out of it. Except for that. If a lot of the people that are up in the air, like Trump's losing the female vote in droves. In droves. The polls show it's like 68 Biden to 32 Trump with females. I think with males, I think Trump actually leads by a small margin. It's like practically tied. When it's like a few points, remember, there's like a plus or minus, but I think Trump's winning 52 to 48 or something like that. So you could call that a tie with males, but with females, like Biden's leading. He's not bringing the females back by being a bully. And that's always the criticism that's been of Donald Trump, is that he's not doing anything to expand his base. He just caters to his base of people. That's always been the criticism. Yeah, Hannity and Trump love each other. He loves them. You know, that's why it was like so unbelievable when they asked Trump like the next day and about the whole Proud Boy comment, stand back, stand by, whatever he said. And he goes, well, I don't know who they are. It was like, come on, dude. You watch Hannity like every day. And Hannity's had him on like a bunch of times. So how could you not know who they are? Again, I don't think he meant what he said, but I don't buy for a second that he doesn't know who they are. I think he knows exactly who they are, but I don't think he meant that whole stand by comment. And they were all posting, you know, the Proud Boys are posting all over social media right afterwards. That's just my take. I don't know that he, you know, a lot of people, they call on, oh, he's a racist, he's white supremacist, look what he did, look what he said, it was a call to action, he's telling his people to stand by for violent, and I don't think he meant that. Again, that's my opinion. I don't think he meant it. I call it like I see it. You know, I will call out what I feel, no matter which way. I've always said this. I am not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I don't even say I'm an independent. I'm just like a guy that looks at a person, that looks at an issue, and I form my opinion about it from the way I was raised and my experiences in life. It's simple as that. You know, people think automatically because you don't like Donald Trump, you don't like the president, that, oh, you're on the left, you're, and of course now everything's like extreme. You're extremely on the left. You're extremely on the right. Nobody's like moderate anymore. I'm not anything. I'm just me. And to be honest, there's a lot of views that are left leaning that I'm totally against, that I totally don't believe in. I still don't like the president, but I don't believe in these ideas either. Like, I'll give you an example. So, I don't believe in open borders. I don't believe in sanctuary states and sanctuary cities. I don't believe in any of that. It's ridiculous to me. We have laws and rules to becoming a citizen in this country. I don't believe in the term undocumented immigrant. You're an illegal alien. You're illegal. If I do something illegal, I get a ticket, I get arrested, I go to jail. So why should somebody who's not supposed to be here be called something other than illegal? So I don't believe in open borders. I don't believe you can just let everybody in. Doesn't mean I'm against immigration. It means that I don't believe in open borders, just letting everybody in. I don't believe in that. We have rules. We have a certain way that we're supposed to do things in this country. We can't let everybody in. There's no room. And who's going to pay for it? Me? Taxpayer? Why should I pay for it? Why should you pay for it? That doesn't make sense. I've always said, you know, I'm in New Jersey, right? Phil Murphy, the Governor Murphy, wants to make or has made or whatever he's done with New Jersey sanctuary state. I go, hey man, Phil Murphy, before he was the governor of New Jersey, was a Goldman Sachs guy. He's a multi-millionaire. Hey, you want to make the sanctuary state of New Jersey? Have them at your house. You keep them. Put them up in your place. Why should I pay for it? Why should any taxpayer pay for it? Put them in your house. Is that inhumane? No. You know why? Because you're here illegally. You didn't do it the right way. Okay? You had to have done it the right way. Otherwise, you're illegal. Now, with that being said, if you are here illegally and you've come here because you are trying to make a better life for yourself, for your family, You're doing the right things. You got a job. You're not getting into trouble with the law. You are contributing to this society that we live in here. I believe that you should be given an opportunity to become a legal citizen. I don't care how you got here. You're already here. It's going to cost more to just send you back. But if you're actually here for a better life, then you should be given a green card and you just be legal and then go through the steps of becoming a legal citizen. Now, if we find out that you're here illegally and you're getting in trouble and you're getting arrested and you're causing mayhem and havoc, now you need to go back to wherever you came from. It's as simple as that. That's my stance. In Marty's comment, they should use illegal alien because undocumented is insinuating they are under the process of citizenship. It's a good point. It's a real good point. I just don't believe in it. We have rules for a reason. And it doesn't mean I don't believe in immigration. We're all immigrants. Unless you're a Native American, we're all immigrants. But that's how you're supposed to do it. You got to do it the right way, not the wrong way. So I have no problems with people that want a better life, that want to get away from whatever country they're escaping out of, for their families and for themselves, to live the American dream. I get it. I'm all for it. But you got to do it the right way. That's all I'm saying. So I don't believe in that. People would say, that's a left view. That's a left view. Or that's a right view, I should say. About not, So it leans right, I guess. I don't look at it that way because I just think that's what makes sense. It's not even about like having this Democratic or Republican viewpoint. It's just, I look at it and I go, well, that's just what makes sense to me on that issue. I believe in immigration, but not illegally. Simple as that. Another thing that I think is ridiculous that's come up recently: defunding the police. Now, people would say that's the left view, correct? Defunding the police. We should defund the police. When I first heard the term defunding the police, I said, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. Defunding the police? The police need more funds. What is this defunding? I think they need to be trained or retrained or trained differently. Maybe practices need to be updated a little bit. But there's no defunding. They need more funding. I'm totally against the defunding the police thing. Absolutely. I know plenty of good cops. Plenty. And I know cops that were over their retirement, like they could retire, and they wanted to put it in another couple of years. They said, fuck this. I'm fucking retiring now because I can't even do my job now without being criticized. I go, yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. So I don't believe in this defunding the police. Not at all. I don't care who you are. I don't care what color skin you have. I don't care what ethnicity you are. If you're doing something illegal, you need to be arrested and prosecuted and go and thrown in jail. Simple as that. Whether it's getting a ticket, getting a summons, actually being arrested, I don't care who you are. If you're doing something that's illegal, you need to face the consequences of that, no matter what, period. And the fact that police are like, I can't even do my job now because they're so worried about the criticism they're going to get, I can't blame them for retiring early or retiring, I should say, that they're eligible and just, I got my 20 years in, I'm going to retire. Can't blame them. So no, stop with the defunding the police. Ridiculous. I don't like it. I don't believe in it. So people might say, well, that's a right view. It leans to the right. Well, that's what I think. I don't know that it leans to the right. I just know that it's what makes sense to me. In the same way that what makes sense to me is I don't like Donald Trump, you know? It's nothing to do with being a Democrat or being a Republican or any of that. Nothing at all. It has nothing to do with that. It's just that I just don't like what I see and what I hear from the guy who's the president of the United States. That's it. The experiment of electing a non-politician didn't work. To me, there are some people out there that think it worked. Some people love the guy. I mean, I see posts all the time and they're like, Donald Trump's the greatest president we've had in the history of the United States. Like, oh God, like seriously? I mean, I get that you like the guy for whatever your reasons are, but like the greatest president ever? I mean, Abe Lincoln freed the slaves, man. And you want to say Donald Trump's the greatest president ever? Come on. Please. Put it in perspective. Just a little bit. Stop with this greatest president ever thing. It's nuts. Marty says training is too short in the academy and they hire too many veterans who are in combat and all battle with PTSD. A friend of mine who's a veteran says that all veterans of war. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, how could you not have some kind of PTSD with what you see in war over there and wherever you were, whether we're from Iraq, Afghanistan? I mean, of course you're going to have PTSD. You see some things that are just no human being should ever see. Terrible. So yeah, they need training. Especially if you're a veteran. You got to be able to adjust back to life in this country. And it's tough. And yeah, I could see somebody having serious problems for the rest of their lives because of the things that they've seen. You know, so I can't argue with that. They do need more training. That's why I don't believe in defunding. It's stupid. Makes no sense. Defunding the police. Just the whole term. I mean, just the term to me was like, wait, you want to take money out of police programs? Is that what that means? Like, what does it even really mean to defund the police? Like what does it actually mean? And that's what I gathered, that they want to have less cops. Because that's what people were thinking at first. Like, it means they want less cops on the street. I don't know if that's what it means. Does it mean that we're going to take programs that were meant for the police and we're going to put that money somewhere else? Is that what that means? Either way, it makes no sense. No sense at all. So I don't agree with defunding the police. I still don't like Donald Trump. But I don't like the defunding of the police either. Now, the other issue that people may say leans to the right would be the whole thing about standing in the national anthem and Colin Kaepernick kneeling. I don't like it. Thought it was wrong. That was my opinion. I thought it was wrong. I didn't like that he was kneeling. I didn't like that he was defiant and saying, I am not going to kneel for, or I'm not going to stand for the flag of the country that oppresses the people of color. And I was like, you make it sound like people think it's okay. Like everyone's just like not thinking it's all right. Like everyone just thinks it's good to do this. I don't think it was good to do it. I don't think that's right. I think it's a real important issue. I never understood how kneeling during the national anthem was going to solve the problem, because in this country, when you play the national anthem, you stand up, you put your hand over your heart, and you sing it, and whatever you do. That's how we honor our country. You're still a citizen of the country. If you don't like something, do something about it. Organize something. Now, a lot's been done since then. I mean, this is a few years ago. But there's still a kneeling issue. There's still this issue that we have. And I think now it's like, I've always said that, like, if you want to honor somebody by kneeling, like, I get it. But at the time when it was like, I am making a decision to not stand for the national anthem of my country, just didn't make sense. I know at first he was just sitting down, and then somebody, I guess he talked to some people, and they said, well, sort of disrespecting veterans who fought for this country. So he knelt down, and they said, well, that's kneeling is a sign of respect. But we respect our national anthem by standing. And with all that, the other thing was, he, during practice, remember he wore those socks that had like pigs on it as police. Well, that's not productive. That's not something that's, you're calling police pigs. Like, that's not good. That's not a good thing. I understand that you're upset about what happens, and I am too. Don't get me wrong. But I'm not going to wear pig socks with police. Like, I'm going to go and organize a march or a protest or discussion or community discussion, and let's get people talking like that. Like, I didn't get it. I still didn't get it. Now, of course, with all that's happened since, especially this past year, look, I don't know how anybody can watch that footage of George Floyd and think, oh, it's anything less than horrific. The most horrific. I mean, this man died in police custody with a cop's knee on his neck for almost 9 minutes. It's disgusting. It's horrible. People should be outraged. I don't think it means defunding the police, but I get the outrage. I don't care what, and I don't care what George Floyd did in his life before that. People always want to justify these things. Oh, he was a criminal, or he did this, or he did that, and that. Doesn't matter, man. Doesn't matter. That man did not deserve what happened to him on any terms. I don't care what he did. He did not deserve that. I know, I've seen all the footage of him not wanting to get in the car, and I've seen it all. If that was the case, man, they should have called an ambulance, and they could have gotten an ambulance and put him on a stretcher and taken him away if they thought he was erratic and something wrong with him. I mean, but to hold him down, and then even when the one cop was like, hey, should we let him up? The cop was like, no. I mean, it was horrific. But you can't say that all cops are like that, because they're not. You can't paint that picture that all cops are bad because of what those guys did. So yes, there needs to be a conversation about it. I still didn't agree with the kneeling. And now it's the national anthem's getting played and the players lock arms, and you'll have like one person kneel now. And it's like, to be honest, it's not even about agreeing or disagreeing with that right now. It's just like, we're locking arms to show our support. And that I kind of understand. Like, I don't think it's disrespecting the country or disrespecting the country that you live in. I felt that when Kaepernick was doing it, he was in absolute, like, I don't respect my country. That's how it felt. I don't know if that's what he meant. I don't, but that's what it felt like to me. And since then, like I said, a lot of things have happened, so it's kind of hard to say, well, look, now was what happened. Not to say that he was right then. I still don't think it was right. But when I don't mind, like the locking of the arms in showing support and solidarity for an issue during the national anthem, I don't see that as disrespect. I know there are people that are like, I'm never watching the NFL again. Man, look, let's be honest. Before Kaepernick knelt down, nobody even paid attention to the national anthem at a sports game. People were like getting beer. They were online at the concession stand. They were sitting down. They just weren't even paying attention. They didn't show it on TV. So, the outrage, little much. But again, that might be something that people would say, oh, well, you lean to the right. But I don't like the president. So there you go. What can I tell you? That's just me. Marty's saying, my opinion is that Kaepernick should not have knelt at a privately owned property owned by your employer, but I'll defend his right to do so. But to every action, there is a consequence. That is true. Conservatives bring the George Floyd's past to almost justify his death. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. They do that. And then they get angry when people bring out Kyle Rittenhouse putting hands. Yeah, well, you're right. I mean, this white kid was walking around with a machine gun and nobody did anything. And if that would have been a black guy, he would have got shot. I mean, there's no question in my mind about that. That shows the differences in this country and how out of whack it is. Because that kid should have been taken down in 3 seconds. And the whole thing about Kaepernick on private property, look, if the NFL allows it to happen, then they allow it to happen. I've always say this when people bring up the free speech thing. And I've seen it on social media. I've seen people talking about because how Twitter is now putting these warnings on Trump's tweets and Facebook too. And I hear people going, it's free speech. He can say whatever he wants. It's free speech. It's free speech. And the same thing with the NFL. Kaepernick exercising his right to free speech. Well, that's not what free speech is. That's not what free speech is at all. Free speech is defined in the Constitution, means that the government cannot suppress your right to speak out, your right to criticize the government, your right to criticize the president. That's what free speech is. Doesn't mean that Colin Kaepernick can kneel down during the national anthem without consequence by his employer if they decide to do something about it. If they say this is what needs to happen, they have the right to say that because it's private property and it's not controlled by the government. So they can say whatever they want as long as it doesn't infringe upon anybody's civil rights. In other words, when you walk into a store, your local grocery store, and the grocery store has a sign that says, you are not allowed to enter without wearing a mask. The store is allowed to do that. And people were bitching about it. Oh, I got a medical condition. Meanwhile, we know all that's bullshit. But the store can say, you can't come in without a mask. That's our policy. Plain and simple. As long as that policy is for everyone across the board, no matter who you are, there's nothing wrong with it. If the store said, we don't let people in our store that wear blue shirts, they can do it. As long as it's not infringing upon an individual's civil rights and it's even across the board and the rules apply to everyone. It's private property. They can do it. Same thing applies with the NFL and anybody else. Now, PR-wise, it might not be the best move on certain situations, But there's nothing illegal about it. You understand? So people need to make that distinction about free speech. And they don't. They think like, oh, I can say whatever I want, man. We live in America. It's the United States. Free speech, free speech, free speech. You always hear free speech. No, man. It's not. Which is why when the president has made the claim and said that the fake news, the media, is the enemy of the people. Do you know what he's saying? Like, do you understand the underlying connotation of that? Private citizen Donald Trump can say that. But President Donald Trump, is walking that fine line of suppressing free speech by saying that the media is the enemy of the people. Free speech is the greatest thing we have in this country. If we don't have it, we'd be a dictatorship. Every time Trump says the fake news and gets people to believe that, oh, it's fake news, fake news, fake news. The New York Times is fake news. New York Times is one of the most revered institutions we've had in this country for decades. And now all of a sudden, because Trump doesn't like what they said about him because it's true, it's fake news. Come on. How do you put any validity into that? That doesn't make sense to me. Not good to say fake news, media is the enemy of the people. Not good. Never liked the term fake news. I get you don't like when people are saying things about you. The president's got the thinnest skin ever. Well, I'm the most criticized, and you hear all Trump supporters always say that. This president's had to endure more than any other president. Oh, come on, man. Every president gets criticized up and down, no matter who you are. No matter who you are, when you're the president of the United States, they hate you. Hate. You're doing a horrible job. Every president, when they're president, has done a horrible job. It's not until we look back on their presidency that we see what they've done. That's how it usually is. I saw it with George Bush, George W. I saw it with Bill Clinton. Saw it with Obama. Because when you look back and the people that hate these guys, they look back and they go, whoa, you know what? Look what we got now. That guy wasn't so bad. Remember when George W. Bush was so hated? They portrayed him as like being really dopey, just kind of dumb. And now the people that hate Trump, they're like, man, I'll take George W. Bush any day. I mean, there are people that'll be like, listen, I'll take a wet mop over Donald Trump. They don't even care anymore. I mean, there are people that are like, they like hate the president, but there were people that they were like that with Obama too. That hated Obama, like with a passion, man. And I think it's a shame that we're like that. I think it's a shame that the country is as divided as it is. I don't like it. We all need to live in harmony, man. I think the president does stoke that. I'm sorry, that's my opinion. I think the president stokes this divisiveness in the country. He's done it since he's become president. From the day he became president-elect, he was doing that. Marty's saying, my problem with conservatives that I don't have with liberals is that they are not consistent with their beliefs, like free speech expression, private ownership, separation of church and state. Well, yeah, I mean, well, we could look at it now and look at what what the Republicans are doing with the Chief Justice, the Supreme Court Justice nominee. You know, in 2016, they were like, it's an election year. We cannot put through a Supreme Court justice. That was in fucking March. 3 weeks from the election where they're rushing through a Supreme Court justice. Like total fucking hypocrites. Now they say like the Democrats would have done the same thing. And you know what? They're probably right. They probably would have done the same thing. But they're fucking hypocrites because it was like 2 fucking years ago. Or 4 years ago. 2016 they were doing it. And McConnell took the gamble. Trump got elected. And now he's going on his third Supreme Court justice. Lindsey Graham, he was like, you could, he goes, you could play this tape back. Play this tape. That's what he said. Now they flip-flop. Well, the situation's different now. It's different. Because when you have a Republican-led Senate and a Republican president, that's okay. But when it's the opposite, when the party of the Senate and the party of the president are different, well, that's when you can't do it. It's so fucking bullshit. Then they keep asking Biden about the whole court stacking. If he wins, is he going to stack the court? And of course, what that means, if you don't know what stacking the court is about, it means because we have 9 Supreme Court justices, right? Or 8 and the Supreme Leader, whatever they fucking call them. So there's 9 altogether. And right now, once Amy Coney Barrett gets sworn in, it'll give the conservatives a vote of majority 6-3. And they keep asking Joe Biden if he's going to stack the court, which means, there's no limit on how many Supreme Court justices there can be. So Biden can add more if he wanted to as president to make it more even and not so lopsided. So they keep asking him, are you going to stack the court? Because he could add, right now there's 9, he can make it 11, confirm 2 less liberal judges, make them Supreme Court justices, right? And then now it's not so lopsided anymore. And they keep asking him, and they keep saying, well, look, man, this is the Republicans wanting to make a talking point because they don't want to talk about the fact that they're rushing through this nomination. So they want to make this a point. And Biden, they keep saying, Joe Biden refuses to answer the question. And I keep, on all news stations, doesn't matter if it's Fox, CNN, whoever, they're all like, Biden should answer the question. They don't want to answer the question. And, I don't see, listen, I'm no expert in politics, but to me, I'd just be like, yeah, fuck it. Maybe I will stack the court. Fuck you. What the fuck are you going to do about it? What? You guys are rushing through a nomination. I'll stack the court. How about that? I don't know. Or you just do what Trump always used to do and just be like, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Keep everybody on edge. Just say, wait and see. He doesn't want to answer the question. He said, years ago that he didn't believe in it. But, 4 years ago, the Republicans were saying, you're not supposed to confirm any nominees during an election year. And look what's happening. So who knows? We don't know what's going to happen. So we'll see. So 2 hours and 14 minutes I've been talking. Straight. So I'm going to end this. Maybe I'll come back tomorrow, the next day. I'm going to start doing more regular shows. We're going to start talking about other topics. Right now I just get on and I just say whatever I want to say. Nothing's planned out as it flows the way it flows. And at some point I will actually put together actual segments that I want to talk about with actual other video or stories or whatever. And that'll be coming at some point. But I'm going to end it now, and it is what it is. Everybody stay safe. No matter who you are going to vote for, make sure you go out and vote. And that's how I will end. Make sure you vote.